Hello again, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nana the Esquire on YouTube, and today's video will be on 5 mistakes to avoid making during your bar exam prep. So before jumping right into the video, if you have not already watched my previous video on what I did to pass the bar exam, I highly recommend watching that video before coming to watch this one because I go into great detail on everything I did to pass the bar exam. Also, if you've not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and support me. I really would greatly appreciate that. So mistake number 1 to avoid making during bar prep is focusing on quantity. Your quantity of completion does not gauge how well you are doing during bar prep. I know for me at the beginning of my bar exam prep, I would consistently ask my accountability partner where she was at in her bar prep, how much of her course had she completed. And honestly, that does nothing for you because no matter if you start on the exact same date and do the exact same course, your percentage of completion will be different from someone else's. And that does not mean by any means that you are behind or that you have to do more work, okay? Depending on what courses you took in law school, whether or not you're comfortable with that topic, will determine how long it might take you to get through a particular subject area. And that's okay if you're taking longer than someone else. What's more important to focus on is the quality of your studying, meaning that you are able to spot those issues, that you have formulated your rule statements, and that you are able to analyze the issues when it comes to a fact pattern. Again, in my previous video, I did go over some of the tactics and strategies I used to conquer multiple choice and essay, and I recommend focusing on those things and practicing those things as opposed to focusing on how much of your course have you finished at a certain point. Of course, we all want to get to 100% completion, but in all honesty, even myself who had 5.5 months to study for this exam, I did not completely finish my course and I did fine. So again, focus on the quality of your studying, not the quantity of your studying. The second mistake to avoid is not writing down the rule statements that you don't understand. So what that means is if you get a question right, but you have no clue how you got it right, or you just guessed, you need to still write that rule statement down. If you watch my previous video, you know for multiple choice questions, I would write down all of the rules that I missed. So if you're guessing the right answer, that's the same, if not worse, than getting the question incorrect. So please make sure you're writing down those rules and reviewing those rules. You don't want to cheat yourself when it comes to memorizing these rules. And so do not forget to write down those rule statements you don't understand because you don't want to guess wrong on the bar exam when it actually matters. So the third mistake to avoid making during bar prep is overexerting and burning out early. I highly recommend not studying if you're overly tired or exhausted. This especially applies for those of you who are working full-time or part-time during the bar exam. Make realistic schedules for yourself. If you just worked 8 to 12 hours, you're not going to be able to go for another 8 hours studying. So don't try to make a bar prep schedule that is comparative to your peers that are actually studying all day and have no work obligations. It won't work out for you. I'll also say when you're study fatigued, especially when you're doing knowledge checks like practice essays, practice multiple choice, when you're tired, that is not going to accurately check or gauge where you are with your preparation. Because likely you're going to be misreading the hypothetical questions, misreading the multiple choice questions, and you're not going to be choosing the right answer. And if you're not doing the questions as you would on exam day, meaning you're alert, you've had a full 8 hours of sleep, then you can't gauge how you will do on the exam. I recommend studying 4 to 6 hours maximum if you are working full time because you don't want to burn out. So I recommend waiting on the weekend to really do more of your knowledge check questions and maybe saving your lectures for those weekdays. I'm not saying don't do any practice questions during the weekdays, but maybe limit it to when you're actually alert. The fourth mistake to avoid doing during bar prep is not doing your practice exams under test conditions, including having your questions timed and making sure that you are writing out your essays in the full IRAC format with your headings, subheadings, and in the way you want to structure and organize your exam on exam day. And if you're having any questions on how to structure your essay questions, in my previous video, I did go into detail on what I did to help me figure out how I wanted to structure my essays. The fifth and final mistake you want to avoid making during bar prep is not focusing in on your weaknesses. Once you finish your lectures, you're going to want to deviate from your course. You're going to want to see where you're weak, and you're going to want to make sure that you conquer those weaknesses because your course will not know. Your course, as smart as they claim to be, will not know how you are doing. And you might say, of course, my bar prep course knows how I'm doing. They're testing me, they're seeing my percentages, they're grading my tests, but they will not change your course to match how you're doing. They're not going to say, okay, Christina's doing really bad at formation of contracts. I'm going to create more formation of contracts questions for her. No. Once you finish all of your course's questions for that topic, that's it. They don't create any more. So that's why I said in my previous video, you have to keep repeating those questions. You're not getting any more new questions. You just have to keep repeating the questions you have so that you're solidifying those rules. So that is why it is important for you to figure out your weaknesses and then deviate from your course if you need to. You're gonna know what areas and topics you're having trouble in because you're gonna see your percentages, you're gonna see your scores and how you're scoring in these practice essays. Towards the end of your course, you'll have done enough practice essays to know the testable subject areas and to know the testable areas that are giving you trouble, whether it be you're having trouble spotting those issues or you're having trouble analyzing those issues. So for example, you might do some Florida con law essays and you'll say to yourself, okay, I'm seeing a lot of this charter versus non-charter stuff, municipalities, all these things about local government, and I don't know what's going on. And even if I could spot the issue potentially, I definitely couldn't analyze that issue. So what I'm doing is going into the Florida Bar Study Guide or into my course and looking for those questions that include charter versus non-charter and figuring out how the model answer words these rules and how the model answer analyzes these issues. Because as I said in my previous video, the way that the bar examiners test these topics are typically the same every year. The facts may differ a little bit, but really overall, they test them the same way. So please don't be afraid to deviate from your course. You are going to actually need to deviate from your course because your course is not going to know what your problem areas are as well as you are. So that concludes this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips were helpful to you. And again, if you have not already, please subscribe. You will love it here. We have tons of content coming for you, content that is related to bar prep and that is also not related to bar prep. So those of you who are interested in law, whether it be law school, whether you're in law school, whether you're considering law school, whether you want to know what a lawyer does, I'll be making content on all of those topics. So please do subscribe and click the bell so that you are notified every time that I post. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.